Hey Diva, hey Divos, welcome to the very first episode of Marquise's Mental Health Hour. I told you guys the first episode is going to be about my story and my journey and why I do what I do on social media. So this is it, okay? I'm very sorry for the quality and the sound quality. It's shitty. I know I'm doing it off my phone because my camera, literally a couple days before I was supposed to film this, my camera broke. And then my mic don't even fit my phone that I have now. It fits my old phone, so now I got to figure out that. So I promise you, moving forward, I'm going to try to work really hard on my quality, along with a better audio quality as well, because that's what you guys deserve. But in the meantime, bear with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. Without further ado, I want to get into it. But before we start, I got my matcha. And then I got my inhaler. So we're going to start off pretty good. We're going to sit down. We're going to talk about my journey. I'm going to be very vulnerable with you guys, so please bear with me. I'm not very good at talking about my traumas. I don't know why. I've never been comfortable sharing my issues. But here we are today, okay? I told you guys this will be the first episode, so I hope you guys enjoy. And please comment down below on what episodes you guys want to see moving forward. I do want to do some like depression, anxiety, ADHD, ED, SH videos as well, as far as like awareness and like talking about it and my own journeys with them and my own experiences and trying to help you guys with your own mental health issues as well. All right, Devos, let's do this. So I was born January 7th, 2004 in Leadville, Colorado. Leadville is the highest commercial town in all of the United States. It sits at like 10,100 feet or something like that above sea level. So it's very high up. I was born and partially raised in Leadville. The majority or the rest of my years, I was raised in Eagle County, which is a very affluent part of Colorado because it's a ski town. It's a really big ski town. So that's where I grew up here. So when I was born with a single mom and my older sister. For the first 6 to 7 years of my life, okay, I'm sorry. The first 6 to 7 years of my life, I was just with my older sister and my mom. My biological dad was in my life partially. He was in and out constantly. He was always in jail. So already as a kid, there was a lot of trauma due to the instability of my household. I remember growing up as a kid, looking at my friends' families, looking at my cousins' families and seeing their family dynamic with the mom, dad, everyone involved in their life, pushing them forward and wanting the best for them. And I think that caused a lot of trauma for me at such a young age already, just due to the fact that I had that was my instability in my life. I didn't have that security knowing, I can go home and go talk to my dad, because I didn't have that. There were some traumas that occurred when I was a child. I don't really want to get too much into it because it really evolved around just like not having a dad in my life and being raised with my mom and my sister. So that is kind of self-explanatory as far as why, but a lot of my childhood I do remember is I really don't remember a lot of the good stuff about my childhood. I just remember a lot of the bad stuff. So like one of my earliest childhood memories is my dad calling me from jail, and he said that he was going to come back, we were going to be a big family again, so obviously I was happy. And then when he got out of jail, we didn't hear from him for like years. So yeah. But I'm going to fast forward just a little bit. My stepdad, he came into my life when I was, I think like 6 or 7 or 8 years old, in between that age. Right around there, he came into our lives, and that's where my journey begins with my stepdad. And even to this day, he's still in my life. I love my stepdad. That's always going to be my father to me. But yeah, so fast forward in a couple years. I remember I was in middle school. This is where my mental health journey really started getting really bad, was in middle school. In 8th grade, one of my ex-girlfriends at the time, she had committed suicide. And I remember this day very clearly. It was on February 7th, 2018. I remember going to school, getting off the bus, because I had my phone taken away at the time, so I didn't have a phone. So anyways, I was getting off the bus, and all my friends were there standing, waiting for me to get off the bus, and they were crying, and I was like, what's going on? And I remember them coming up to me and just saying that, hey, I'm gonna just call her O for this time being. Okay. Anyways, I remember them meeting me at the bus as soon as I got off, and they said, hey, O committed suicide. And I was like, no, that's not possible. Like, there's no way. So, I kind of laughed it off. I was like, oh, that's weird, whatever. Why would they say that? And I went to class. And then when I got to class, the very first period class, my principal came out and she did her rounds and she came into my classroom and she said, as many of you guys know, a student of ours died last night. And when she said that, it really triggered me. So I immediately started bawling because we were good friends. We dated for a while. So I started bawling. I ran out of the classroom like in tears and I left. And then at the time of leaving, I think the teacher got concerned. So she called the front office. The front office called the cops because they thought I was going to run away. So obviously for my own safety, they called the police. And around that same time, my parents were calling me out of school because they thought it was my other best friend, whose name is Olivia. And this best friend and I have gone way back for years and years and years. So they thought it was her. So that's what they called me out of class, but they didn't know it was the girl that I used to date, who was also my best friend, but like not as long, So I remember after I ran out of the class, the cops were there. They were talking to me. I was outside on the sidewalk outside of the school. I was bawling my eyes out. I was a mess. My parents pulled up at the same time that the police pretty much got there, and the police pretty much put me in the passenger seat of their car and were trying to calm me down, and were talking to my parents about the situation. And eventually they released me to my parents, who then took me home and we talked. It is, yeah, you get the story. We just talked. We went home, they picked me up, we talked about what happened and who it was. And so, yeah. So fast forward a week or two from then, I was told that her celebration of life was going to occur, and they wanted to see if friends wanted to come and help, set up. So I remember waking up every morning early to go help set up for this, and I would not sleep, I would not eat, I would not drink water. I would just go help because I felt like this is my way of coming to closure with what had happened. So I was like doing everything I can to make sure the celebration of life was good for her and her family, and also just trying to be as helpful as I can during this process of, this grieving area, and trying to also lay her to rest. So I worked tirelessly. I didn't sleep, didn't eat, didn't drink. I just woke up, focused on that, got home, cried, and just repeated the same process every single day. I remember after her celebration of life, it was very difficult for me because I no longer had anything to kind of look forward to keep my brain busy. So that's when the grief and everything started kicking in like really immensely. And that's when my mental health took a really bad turn for the worst. It got so bad the following week or two to the point where my parents had to put me in therapy like almost every single day, just because of how bad it had gotten. Like, this was the first person that I lost that was really close to me in my life, so I didn't really know how to handle my grief or my emotions. So it was really bad. And although I was in therapy, my mental health kept getting worse and worse and worse, and I think that's what sparked up a lot of my depression, my anxiety, and just my suicidal thoughts. A month after she passed away, so it would have been March 7, 2018, which was also 2 months after my birthday, I remember waking up that morning. I spent the whole day looking through my medicine cabinet, through my parents' room, my laundry room, just every single room I can find, gathering every single pill that I could find. And then that night, I went upstairs to my room with all the pills ready in my bathroom and with 2 waters there. And I sat there for an hour and just proceeded to consume, I think it was like 117 pills. After I took those 117 pills, I put the letters that I wrote the day of onto my bed. I went to go kiss my siblings goodnight because I thought this was going to be the last time, and I went downstairs to go say goodnight to my parents. And then I went back up to my room and I lay down with the notes next to me. And I think that I was just ready for my life to end already. Sorry, like I said, I'm not very good at talking about stuff like this. I remember sitting there in my bed after consuming all those pills, and I had my letters right next to me. And I remember just thinking, like, I wanted to finally feel peace. And I kind of, in a weird sense, in a weird way, I felt peace. Although my stomach was, at the time, my stomach was hurting so bad because obviously that was so many pills and like I just chugged them all. So my stomach was in so much pain. But I felt a sense of peace because I truly felt that like that was my time. Like I truly felt that my life was no longer worth living. So in a weird way, it was just very peaceful to me to really sit there for my last moments to, just think, talk to myself. And I even prayed that night. I remember praying and I remember telling God, I was like, if tonight is my night, please just take care of my family. But if it's not my night to die, then I would never do this again. Obviously, it was not my night. Thank God. But it's really weird to look back and to see how bad of a place I was mentally, to the point where I needed and I felt that the only way to really go on about life is to end it. And now, like, I'm very grateful that it didn't work, but thinking back, I always have this thought of just like, what if it had worked? What would have been the repercussions of my actions? And how would that have affected my friends, my family, my siblings? And it's a really scary thought to think about now because it's just like, it's scary. Like, obviously now I don't want to die, but like back then I obviously did. I wanted to so bad. So it's just thinking back on it, it's kind of weird to just be like, wow, what if it did actually work? And what if that was my time to go? What would have happened following, my passing? So anyways, that was not the first. Okay, I had many attempts before then of trying to, myself, but that was my last attempt. Following my attempt the next morning, I remember waking up and I was really upset that my attempt didn't work. And I remember getting up from bed and immediately just like throwing up everything because of how much I had consumed. And I also remember that morning when after I woke up, I went to go wake up my parents and I was like, hey, I'm not feeling good. I just threw up all over the floor. Can I stay home today? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. So my mom helped me pick up my throw up. And then I remember going through all the bottles that I had gotten the day before to figure out why it didn't work. And I remember looking, and majority of the pills that I had found luckily had been expired. And obviously when you have expired medicine, it doesn't take any effect on your body. It's just like, just like another liquid. So yeah, looking back at it, I'm like, wow, that was like a sign from God just saying it's not my time to go. I have much bigger things ahead of me, which obviously I'm very grateful and I see it now. But back then I was like, I don't care. I don't care. But I was upset that they were expired. I was like, what the heck? Like, this is not supposed to happen like this, But following my attempt, my mental health took a really, really bad turn again. It got to an all-time low. That was the lowest I've ever been. It got to the point where we were considering putting me in mental hospitals. And also I was on heavy antidepressants. And I continued to take those antidepressants for years and years and years to come. So, as life went on, and I learned from the experience, I was still struggling with my mental health up until like freshman year. Actually, when I started doing social media, I was still on my antidepressants. So when I first started doing social media, I had decided that I no longer want to be an antidepressant. So I decided to cold turkey them. And I remember just the feeling of withdrawals. Like I went through very, very heavy withdrawals. Like if I did not take my antidepressants that day, the next day of, I would get such migraine level headaches and it was so painful and it hurt really bad and it felt like a big fog in my head. And also my emotions, I just could not control my emotions. I didn't know how to. I think that the antidepressants really blocked my way of processing emotion. It really just numbed me. So when my emotions came to light after taking it, it was very hard for me to process it. And so the only way I would do it was through anger because I didn't know how to fully process my emotions. And to this day, it's been 4 or 5 years already that I've been off of my antidepressants, but to this day, I still struggle with my emotions. That's something I'm working on. I still have bad anger issues once in a while, but I've been trying to kind of let go and also process my emotions. But it's been hard. It's been really hard. So not much really happened during high school. I was doing so much better after the antidepressants. I started doing social media. And I started doing my mental health videos, and that's when I started really like blowing up on TikTok. So I wanted to fully focus that, and I was very passionate about it. Still am, but back then I was very passionate about it, and I was very excited for my social media and making my videos. And everyone around me was very proud of the accomplishments I had done on social media, and that is something that I'm also very proud of myself. But we're gonna fast forward up to last year, okay? So as some of you know, July 3rd, 2024, my older sister, my brother-in-law, my two nephews, they were 2 and 1 years old. They were involved in an accident with their side-by-side, and they all passed away. Now, this is a very sensitive subject to me, so I'm sorry if I get a little bit of emotional because it's been so recent. But I remember that day I was working at my job, and my mom called me that morning and said, hey, your cousin, because my cousin was involved in an accident on her motorcycle a couple days prior. So my mom called me that morning and said, hey, they just pronounced your cousin brain dead. Do you want to come with me to go say our final goodbyes? And I told my mom, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be there. So I let my boss know I got off of work early. They picked me up and we went to go say our final goodbyes. And we were there all day with the family, talking, just trying to be there for everybody. And as we were leaving, we were at Chick-fil-A in the drive-thru getting my nuggets, my milkshake, and my fries when we got the call. Like, we had just ordered at the drive-thru and we were driving around the bend. And as we were driving around the bend to go pick up the food is when we got the call. So obviously we got the call like right here, right behind another car. And then as soon as we got to the window, we were all just a mess. I will forever be grateful for everybody that was in there with us in the car because it kind of really helped keep us grounded in this situation. As soon as we got the call, we rushed over to where my sister lived, which was like an hour and a half away from Denver. So my aunt did like 100. I don't condone this, but she did like 100, 110 the whole way there. And we had gotten there so quick, but we got there like less than an hour. But it was the longest drive of my life. I remember it was just so long because I just wanted to be there. And I remember when we got to where the crash site was, you could see like the police cars, the cones, everything was shut down. And I remember walking up and you could see the side-by-side that they were in all crumpled. And then as we were walking up to it, the tow truck driver was also towing it up onto the bed of his truck. So we walked up to go look inside, see if we can find my sister's phone. And you could just see their blood like all over the side-by-side. And then not only that, you could also see the blood like all over the road of where the bodies went flying after the impact. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a backstory. So where the accident happened, it was in a very rural country road. Like it was like dirt roads out in the country. My brother-in-law was driving the side-by-side. They were going down to his parents' house to get the side-by-side ready for the weekend, the 4th of July weekend, because they were going to go up to Leadville to go ride their side-by-sides. So as they were coming down, okay, this is the intersection. My brother-in-law was coming down from here. He had a stop sign. I don't know what had happened, but I guess State Patrol is saying that he allegedly ran the stop sign. And as he ran the stop sign, a Morgan County REA vehicle, which is a utility vehicle, was coming this way and T-boned him. So the truck swerved this way off into 1,000 feet into the cornfields, whereas the side-by-side kind of just got impacted into this corner. Keep in mind, the side-by-side only weighed 3,000 pounds, whereas the truck weighed almost 20,000 pounds. So as soon as the impact happened, the truck went this way, the side-by-side went here. It started rolling. My sister took most of the impact, so the side-by-side crushed around her, so it kept her inside the side-by-side. But my brother-in-law and my two nephews were all ejected. My brother-in-law and my oldest nephew were ejected about 20 feet off into the side of the road right here. So they were ejected right here, about 20 feet off from the impact site. So they were all in the grass, and then the side-by-side ended up resting here next to them with my sister still in it. My youngest nephew was ejected, I think, over 100 feet more south down the road to like here in the middle of the road, straight into concrete. I remember when we got there, we had to be in charge of calling the coroner to confirm the bodies. My mom was an absolute mess, so I had to kind of like step up. So I called the coroner, I confirmed the bodies, and we were just trying to figure everything out. We had basically, after this accident, we lived there for over a month in a hotel, just trying to figure out funeral stuff and what we're going to do with them and the viewings, because no one was viewable except my sister, but the only thing that was viewable was her face from the chin down. Or from the chin down was not viewable, but the chin up was viewable. And so we did the viewing with just my sister because my nephews weren't viewable, and same with my brother-in-law. And I remember walking up, sorry guys. So I remember walking up to the coffin, and you can see my sister's right hand laying on top because that was also viewable. But you could also see like the broken, like all of her broken fingers. And then when you went to go look in her hair, you could see like, hold on, my hair's a mess. Hold on. But like you could see all of the scratches like all around here, and then the bruising, her bruising was so bad. It was just like all purple and black from here up, and then even here was just like purple and black from all the bruising. But yeah, so we did the viewing. Following the viewing, we kept ourselves busy with just, trying to plan out their funeral, their celebration of life, and what we're going to do with them. And again, going back to my first person that I really lost was really close to me, it was kind of the same thing with me where I kept myself really busy and didn't give myself time to process the grief. And then after my sister's and my nephew's celebration of life, that's when everything had hit like a truck. My mental health went back to an all-time low. And previously to the accident, I was doing really good mentally. I was going to the gym every day. I was posting consistently on TikTok and social media. And I was doing really good for myself and working on myself. And then right after the accident, I lost like 20 or 30 pounds, like within the month we lived there. And obviously my mental health went really bad. My addiction started coming back. So like my nicotine addiction, I never really had an alcohol addiction, but because of the accident, it sparked a really bad alcohol addiction for me to the point where I was drinking almost every single day after the accident, which is not good. I think even now I'm still struggling mentally. I mean, it's barely been a year, so it's kind of given. And also my addictions are still very prominent. Although with alcohol, I did cut back a lot to the point where I only drink like when we're hanging out with friends or on the weekends. But the last month, I did start posting consistently every single day, minus a day or two, on social media again. And I know that my sister would be very proud because she was very proud of my social media. Every time she had a new friend, she'd be like, "Do you follow my brother on TikTok?" "No?" "Okay, let me show you." And then she'd make him follow me on TikTok. So she was very proud of what I was doing on TikTok. She was very supportive of it, and she loved everything I did on my social media. So that's why it was so hard for me to come back on social media, because of that connection I have with my sister because of my social media. But when I fully did come back to social media, the amount of love and support you guys have given me since has been phenomenal. And now obviously I'm working on my mental health. I'm trying to get back into the gym again. That one is hard. I cut back on alcohol. My nicotine addiction is going to be out the window here soon, hopefully. But yeah, I wanted to go more in depth, but I also don't want to make it too long because it's like I really don't have any talking points, and I probably should have done that first. But I'm kind of just winging it because I like just talking. But that is my story. If you guys want me to go more in depth, which I plan to do so, as far as like my experience with depression and how I kind of cope with my depression and anxiety and ADHD and my SH and ED. Obviously, mental health is not an easy battle. I think that it is something that you will probably deal with for the rest of your life. However, it does get easier. There are ways to cope. And I hope that this video can show you guys that even though you can go through something traumatic or struggle with your mental health really bad, you can still grow from that and also learn how to cope and not think that sewer slide is your solution out of this, because it's not. I do want to say this. Okay, it's a quote. It goes, "Sewer slide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem." Anytime you guys feel like you think that's the only way out, please think back to that quote, because your pain that you're feeling is temporary, but sewer slide is not temporary, it's permanent. Briefly, I do want to go back and talk about some other stuff. So on my dad's side, everyone has pretty much passed away from drugs, including my grandma, my aunt, my dad to an extent, because he was a drug runner, so he got murdered, but it was because of drugs. But my aunt and my grandma overdosed. The only people that are still alive on my dad's side of the family is obviously going to be me, my cousin who's incarcerated, and my uncle who still struggles with drugs. And then my two other cousins that are here in Colorado, and I talk to them a lot, but we're the only ones left alive on that side of the family. And then on my mom's side, everyone was or is an alcoholic, so everyone in my mom's side has struggled with it. So my genes are really messed up because I got the double whammy, because obviously I have really easy addictive personality as it is already. And when it comes to alcohol and drugs, it's very easy for me to get addicted to them, which I saw very clearly because it's of everything that happened. But just because your family has those genes does not mean that you need to follow down the same path, okay? You are your own person. You need to create your own path. You do not need to follow your family's footsteps or anybody else's footsteps. Just do what makes you happy, but don't go down that path of drugs or alcohol or SH or sewer slide, because it's not healthy. And coming from someone who has struggled with all of it, it's not healthy. And that's why I do what I do on social media, because I feel like if I can use my traumas and my mental health experiences to help others, then in a sense, it kind of helps me cope with my issues. And it also helps me feel better about like, okay, you know, I'm saving people, I'm helping people, I'm keeping people here. And that's what matters to me. And that's what I do. That's why I do what I do. Every single one of you are very important. You are loved. I'm very proud of all of you, and I'm very proud of you for pushing through your struggles and pushing and fighting to still be here. It is not going noticed, so I'm very proud of you guys. I hope my videos can really kind of help you guys, and I'm also trying to break the stigma behind mental health, so I really hope that it can help you guys to kind of be more open and honest. That way you do not go down a path of either taking your own life or destroying your own life. I hope you guys love this video. Okay, this is the first episode. There are going to be longer ones in the future, but for now, I was just kind of winging this one, but for the future videos, I do want to get talking points done, because without talking points, my brain goes, you know? But I love you guys. Please leave down in the comments of what you guys want to see in the future. I hope you guys liked the video. If you guys want me to go way more in depth, I will. I just got to get a talking point done because I think I skipped a lot of stuff, but in the future, I will work on that, okay? But I love you guys. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Thank you guys so much for all the support you guys have given me on all my platforms. You guys are amazing. You guys are loved. I love you guys. I'm very proud of all of you. And yeah, thank you guys. Bye, Divas. Bye, Divos.